And we see this article and it says Wings of Hope, mercy flights, and we're like, wow, we've got to beat these people. So my buddy and I, Gary, we got in someone else's 182, and we flew out from, he was in Kansas City, I was in California. We flew out to, I flew out to Kansas City, we got in an airplane, we landed, this is around 2000. So you can imagine the hangars are on the other side of the airport, or the middle over there. Doug comes walking out, the president at the time. I'm pretty sure Ed was probably here, and or right after that, but he comes out and we start talking. And you know, Doug believed in the vision. You know, a lot of people were like kind of patting our heads and good luck with that. Come back and talk to us when you've done something. We had a really good logo, but we didn't have an airplane. And so we had, I said, Doug, we need an airplane. We've been flying to Mexico, flying doctors to Mexico and doing some work down there. The goal has always been New Guinea, but right now we know it's going to take a few years to get the organization up and running. Do you guys have an airplane? Because we can see you get airplanes donated and then you sell them. And we look over and there's this little 182 in the corner. It's this red, black, and white. And it's 425 Romeo Bravo. The Red Baron Pizza, the 182, the 1960. And Doug comes back to us a few months later and he says, you know what, we can sell this to you guys for $30,000. All you need is $15,000 down, and then you guys can make payments for the rest. And that 425 Romeo Bravo became the flagship of Samaritan Aviation in the early days. And I'll never forget, we picked it up here and I flew it back to Colorado. And what an amazing feeling for the organization to go from a dream at that point and a card to actually owning our first airplane. So when someone asked what airplane we had, we could finally tell them we have a 182, 1960 182. But Wings of Hope, since then, our first seaplane, one of your volunteers went to Hawaii, did a pre-buy on it. We actually put it in a container, shipped it here. It was right when you were moving into this new hangar, around 2006. And then I spent months here with Ed and Dan and Dave working on that 206, getting the wings put back on, changing out pulleys, just getting the plane ready to go to Papua New Guinea. We test flew the engine out of here, Steve Long and I, but so all that to say, you guys are doing amazing things. And as I tell you stories today, you hear about Samaritan Aviation, Wings of Hope is a huge reason why we're doing what we're doing today. And it was you guys volunteering, it was leadership believing in us, and it was a partnership, and you guys are still partnering with us. Have any of you been welcomed to a village in that fashion? That was pretty special. And we had a chance, this was the first time to bring a medical team in to this village and give vaccines and the basic medical. We had doctors, nurses in there at this team with one of our partner hospitals there on the Gulf side, Papua Hospital. And it was just an amazing moment. I'm going to catch back up here. Just to give you a quick, if you weren't here last time or you haven't brushed up on Papua New Guinea, it's the second largest island in the world. New Guinea is the island. Papua is just half of the island. 840 dialects, fifth of the world's languages are right on this side. Over 12 million people live on this side. And this is the side that we work on. And when I talk about the Sepik River or the north side, that's where we're based in Wewak. This is where the only hospital is here for 1.2 million people that live in this province. 500,000 of them live on the river and the rest are in the hills. Then you have 14,000-foot mountains that go through the middle of this island. And our new expansion, where I was just at today, were welcoming us, was down here in the Gulf province. And there's another several 100,000 people living here with no roads. It's a big swamp. It's probably, from what I've seen, the worst, most poorly developed of all the Papua New Guinean provinces. It has the most speed and the least amount of assistance happening from outside organizations as well. And that's where we're going. And this is a map of the Gulf. Kapuna Hospital, where we signed a partnership agreement here, is out in 50 miles to the nearest road. And so our focus area is this whole area here. And I might have told you this story last time, but I'll tell it again. About a year and a half ago, I sat at Kerama, the capital, with the CEO of the hospital. There's a government-run hospital here. There's the provincial health coordinator was there, several other political governmental leaders. And I put this map up on the wall, a little projector, and I said, they told me their budget, it was about 1.2 million US a year for medical outreach. And I said, so draw me a circle from here. How far out are you reaching? It's about 170 nautical miles out here, from here to here. And they drew a circle, and the circle went to about here. And I stopped and I looked at him, and I looked at the little health coordinator. And I said, well, what about these people? What happens to them when they have a snake bite, or a pregnancy complication, or tuberculosis, malaria, tribal war, any other disaster or medical emergency? And she looked at me and she kind of offhandedly said, well, they're just used to dying. I don't know if you've ever heard that said about someone, but I sat there stunned. It was at that moment that I knew we needed to come. Because we're the only ones with seaplanes there. We're the only ones that can access. There's no roads out here, but there's water everywhere. And we can reach these people. And that's our goal as we expand to this side of the island. And we were just there. This is the hospital, 50 miles from the nearest road. It's a great facility. The biggest challenge is, how do people get there? And I was just recently there. We talked to one of the patients. They traveled 4 days by canoe to get to that hospital. So what do you do in an emergency? You don't go anywhere, you just die. And so you can see there's one plane, there's another plane. We have 2 planes over there. It's a big 1,000-foot long. There's literally, you can't drive a 4-wheeler in there. There's nothing. The sidewalks are super skinny, and you're just in a swamp. And this river rises up to 9 feet a day from tidal flow. So it's always deep enough here, but this little inlet dries up, and you have to be on a floating dock. One of the amazing things was we've been working for about a year to get a partnership agreement signed with this hospital. And while we were there, we had the big moment to sign the agreement. And I'll tell you a story. We landed, this is the river view from there. We're going to cut this hole right here out and put a floating dock in. And it's going to go in phases. But we just spent $85,000 on a bark, on a dredger that will dredge out this mud. This mud is 4 feet deep, and we have to clear it out so that at low tide the dock will still float. We have 3 phases there. One of them will have a lift to get the planes out. We'll have a roof structure over it as well. So if anybody knows anybody who wants to go over on a trip and help put a dock in the next 12 months, let me know. So that's one of our big projects on that side, is getting the dock in. Moving back to the north side, I just want to talk to you a little bit too. This is in the Wewak Sepik area, so back on the north side of the island. This is a little better picture. So you have the one hospital here. We have 65 landing areas on this river. We serve about 120 villages annually. And it's amazing. We've now delivered over 260,000 pounds of medical supplies in these little airplanes to the 48 posts that are out here. That's like amoxicillin, basic antibiotics, anti-malarials, that's IV. Any of those things they can do out in the bush, but anything serious has to come all the way to the hospital. So it gives you a bit of a visual there. I was flying out to deliver medical supplies. I get literally a text on my phone, snake bite patient, 10 years old. And I look over, and I'm literally 3 miles from the village. And I just dove down. They brought this little boy to me, he was frothing at the mouth. I knew we only had about 45 minutes to get it. We didn't have anti-venom because it's refrigerated. We don't carry it unless we need it. We rushed him into the hospital. He ended up getting his life saved, and we had a chance to go back in the village, Kirsten and I, and see his family, talk to his his parents. And one of the things that I found out was his grandma died of a snake bite. And his mom became an orphan, and it really affected their life because in the village, when you're an orphan, you kind of lose your whole land and all of that. She got passed on to another family, and so they're kind of the lower side of the village. And but to think that before Samaritan was there, his mom died. We're there now, and he's alive today because that we're here. And so it was great to meet his mom and dad, his 4 other sisters. And so just awesome, just another story, another life that is saved because Samaritan Aviation is there. One of the things we're also doing on the north side, so this is in the WEWAC side, we're currently building 8 houses and a training center there. This is about a $2.8 million project, and the goal is to break ground with tractors in the next 2 weeks. So be thinking about us on that. We've still got some money to raise for that as well. But we really believe in having a training center. We bring nurses in, we can do nurse training for the village nurses, and it's a way for us to also have an office and a place for our families. Right now we have 6 families living there, expat families that are on a half an acre, about 20 kids running around. I don't know how many acres you guys live on, but half an acre for 30 people is pretty tight. So this is a couple acres that we've been able to purchase this last year and allow us, our families, to not just survive, but to thrive. That's always the goal. We want families to stay a long time. Another update from the last year, 3 airplanes. It almost looks like a fleet, I think. I'm pretty excited about that. In their eyes, what we're doing is important, and we're just so blessed to be there. And it's great for us to come tell you more stories. We had the most amazing year. Our flights were up 40% last year, more than we've ever had. Almost 400 patients flown in, lives saved. That's just from the medevac. So when you think of all the medicine deliveries and all the disaster relief that we're doing, we're having a huge impact there. So I just want to say thank you guys for what you do. Thank you for your partnership.